So I'm the guy that you remember the slider page, the guy that I spam all the time, I spam you guys. But I'm so glad that you came today because this is a very important presentation because it's great timing as far as we all know that the SBIR is going to be due here pretty soon, about a month. So, and you got a really good speaker today with John McKay. He's from UDRI. He is, I don't know how many years experience you have, like 30-some years or something. 25 years writing SBIR proposals. So it's a pretty impressive resume. And then Ryan Hellback graciously stepped into to give you a little information on the special topics that are coming out, which is something brand new to the SBIR program. So a little extra bonus and some logistics here. Restrooms are, if you've never been here before, restrooms are along this aisle right over here. I am also going to be passing around an iPad to sign in because we have to do metrics and stuff. Weird stuff, I appreciate that. And does everybody have a copy of the presentation? All right, good. So we'll go ahead and get started. And additionally, after the event, if you're interested, optional, but we're going to go over to the beer company for beer, just network a little bit. You're more than welcome to come, or if you got other stuff going on, then we understand that too. And they do sell Coke and everything else too, so if you'd rather do that too. But it's always a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. So, all right, I will go ahead, John. Or no, I'm sorry, Brian's going to start out.
All right, so can everybody hear me okay? Good. So first of all, I want to thank John for allowing me to take a little bit of your time to talk about the Air Force special topics. So I'm going to take about 5 minutes. I'm going to talk about the special topics, and then as well, I want to talk about the Air Force Pitch Day. So these are two things that you're going to see in the 19.1 solicitation. So I want to make sure you're aware of kind of what our thinking is and what we're trying to do with both those special topics and the Air Force Pitch Day. So just out of my own edification, how many folks have heard of the special topics before today? Okay, so good. How many folks have put in for special topics or have been awarded special topics? Okay, okay, good. So for the folks that aren't aware, how many folks have never done an SBIR before? Let's start with that. All right, excellent. Well, good. I'm glad you're all joining. Just kind of a quick highlight of what SBIRs are. It is the federal government's way of investing in startups and small businesses through kind of a phased approach. So there's really 3 phases to the SBIR program. Phase 1 is usually a feasibility study. Traditionally, it's about 9 months, $150K, and that usually is basically to look at the technical feasibility of the proposed solution. Phase 2 is where you really start getting the big dollars, up to about 27 months and initial amounts of up to $750K. And then the big goal of the SBIR program is to get to what we call a phase 3 or commercialization. So that's the way traditionally SBIRs have been done. And so for the folks that have put in SBIRs before, that's probably the formatting that you've seen before. About a year ago, a few of us got together from AFRL and an organization called AFWorks, which is basically an innovation organization for the Air Force. And we basically said, we're doing a number of things with what's called technology or startup accelerators, basically a methodology of bringing together companies and providing a structured framework to help them get to basically potential customers. So doing what we call customer discovery and really validating your idea before you start getting investments or spending too much time on your idea. And so we said, let's take this idea, the startup accelerators, and let's take the idea of SBIRs and let's see what we can do. And so in 18.2, the 18.2 call, so the middle call of 2018, we put out initially 6 special topics. And so the idea of the special topics was, let's be a little more startup, small business friendly. So a couple things that we did was, one, we looked at a different type of application. We said traditionally, and what you're going to learn about here, I believe is kind of a traditional 20-page proposal, technical proposal. We said, okay, that's good, but we actually want to get more to what you see in the non-government, non-SBIR world. If I'm going to go around, I'm going to go pitch to angel investors or VCs, I'm going to take my pitch deck with me. And so what we said is, give us your 5-page white paper and give us a 15-page slide deck. And from an Air Force perspective, there were some benefits there. In essence, we then are encouraging you all to be more concise and more to the point of, what is the value we bring to the table? What is your advantage in this market? And why should we care, right? So not only do we take that 5-page white paper, it kind of forces you to be more concise, and also from a complementary perspective, the pitch deck, we then can pull those two different sets of data together and use that for our evaluation. So there's a benefit there for the Air Force. In some ways, it's a lot easier for us to evaluate, but then hopefully there's a benefit as well to you all as small businesses. You're not writing a 20-page paper in order to get a proposal. So we did this. We also said, let's do a 3-month phase 1. If the whole goal of this is a feasibility study, we want you to not necessarily look at it purely from a technical standpoint. We want you to look at it from a customer standpoint, and that customer is the end user within the Air Force. So we really want you to understand and make sure that there is truly a market within the Air Force that is going to pick up this idea in that quote-unquote phase 3, right? So if we're investing our money now, we'd rather take a risk and spend 3 months doing that for, we did it for initially 50K, and then we've upped that to 75K for 3 months. Let's do this customer discovery. Let's not only look at feasibility from a technical side, let's look at it from a Air Force end user perspective. So 6 topics for the first round of special topics. One of those is one that we do with AppWorks called an open innovation topic. And so this is basically our call of bringing in any any dual use technologies that are proven on the commercial side that can be leveraged and brought into the Air Force. And so we got, let's see, I think we got 166 proposals that came in for that one, and we ended up awarding 52 contracts. So traditionally what you would see, the structure is you'd probably get about 20 to 30 proposals per topic, and you'd probably make maybe 2 to 3 awards for a phase 1. So we said, all right, let's look at this from a different approach. Let's take more risk with the phase 1s with the goal of actually narrowing that down more so on phase 2s. With our phase 2 for the special topics, we're looking at 15 months versus that 27 months. Still at the 750K. So now we're getting to a faster speed here. Again, with the goal of 1, can we validate the end user with the Air Force? 2, can we get that technology to the end user quicker, right? You're going to continue to have your traditional SBIR topics. So as you go out and look at the 19.1 topics, you will see the majority of them are those traditional topics. However, for this cycle, we have 11 special topics, and so I encourage you to go out and look at those. They're the first 11 topics for the Air Force solicitation, so make sure you check those out. The open innovation one that I talked about last cycle, so 18.3, we had 279 proposals come in. We ended up awarding 84 contracts out of that. So again, very good opportunity, very good chance for you all to put in your proposals and potentially get an award. We're also doing within those special topics, 3 topics which we're calling Air Force Pitch Day. So again, with this mindset of we want to engage with small businesses, we want to engage with startups, not necessarily in the government mindset, but more as they would experience it out in the regular commercial world. And so this pitch day is an opportunity for you all to come in and actually pitch to 3 different program offices or different technology areas, and we'll make an evaluation. We'll give you feedback on the spot. If we select you as a winner, you then walk over to the next room. We'll give you the contract. You sign the contract right there. And by the way, we'll give you your first payment, all on the same day. So I really encourage you to go out to the Air Force SBIR website. There's a link within there for the Air Force Pitch Day, or you can do a Google search of Air Force Pitch Day. Check it out. So March 6th and 7th, we'll be in New York City to receive your all pitches and to make those selections and awards all on the same day, right? So this is your opportunity to do something a little different than what you would see with a traditional SBIR. So definitely happy to take questions. I encourage you to obviously check out the website. We're going to be doing what we call an Ask Me Anything session tomorrow, which is basically a webinar. It'll be at 1 p.m. And again, if you check out that Air Force SBIR Pitch Day website, you can see information there. So we'll be doing one tomorrow on Friday, and then one on Monday as well. So encourage you to check that out. If you have a question, go for it.
Yes, on the pitch day, I assume you do some type of down select on who you invite to Air Force Pitch Day?
Correct.
The initial cut?
Yeah, so basically the vision is that we, let's say we had 100 companies proposed, we would down select a subset of that. That subset would all be invited to come pitch on that March 6th, and that March 6th would be the day where we hear your pitch, we tell you yes, no, here's why yes, no, and if it's a yes, here's your contract, and here's your first payment. And then on the 7th, we're going to have Air Force senior leadership, we're going to have industry, we're going to have venture capital and angel investors, all in audience for you all to make your pitches to them as well, recognizing the fact that, hey, yes, you've got an opportunity to work with the Air Force, there are other opportunities as well. Go for it. Yep. So it's the same 3 criteria for those traditional topics. So number 1, we look at it from a technical standpoint, right? What's the technical feasibility? Number 2, we look at it from a team perspective. Does your team have that composition not only on the technical side, but also on that commercialization side? How likely is it that you all will be able to get this technology out into the field for us? And then number 3 is that commercialization perspective. Again, how likely is it that you've either done this before or that you have the experience or the likelihood of being able to get this out to our area? Other questions? Go for it.
You mentioned the pitch day as a topic. Is that different than the other topics?
So there's actually 3 topics that are participating in that pitch day.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
So we are piloting this idea again, saying, all right, how can we experiment? How can we as the government take a startup approach to this? And we think there's value there. Well, let's test it out with 3 topics.
Okay.
Other questions? So I will be around. I'll be sitting probably over on the other side for the rest of the afternoon. Happy to have you come over and chat with me if you have further questions. Again, encourage you to check out the website, check out the Ask Me Anything sessions. Really encourage you to put in your proposals. Hopefully that proposal process has some benefit for you all. Just doing that 5-page white paper and that 15-page slide deck. I'd be happy to hear your feedback for the folks that have put in proposals for those special topics. How did it go for you? What was good? What was bad? What can you learn from it? So definitely appreciate your time and appreciate you allowing me to come up here and chat. It's Ryan Helbach. Last name is H-E-L, B as in boy, A-C-H.
Also, if you ask a question, and you're always more than welcome to ask a question, just speak up so everybody can hear you. Especially if you're like from here up, because everybody back here can't hear you. These acoustic panels work.
Okay, can you hear me? Ryan asked how many of you have submitted SBIRs. I'm going to ask another more important question. How many of you have won this SBIR? And what agency? Wow, impressive. Impressive. Anyone? Is anyone else interested in SBIR, SCTRs outside of DoD? What agencies? This is going to be interactive. So, what agencies? Especially if I trip. What agencies? NIH? Someone speak up? Huh? Okay. Anyone else? NASA, National Science Foundation? Okay. NASA. Here we go. It's like a booby trap right there. Okay, I'm John McKay. I'm the proposal manager at University of Dayton Research Institute. I work at the old NCR building, right on Patterson. this is the agenda, overview of the SBIR programs, introduction to proposal writing, and then how to write an effective SBIR STTR proposal. It's basically a proposal writing class geared to SBIRs and STTRs. This is my experience. I should start off saying, before I got into writing proposals, I was a newspaper reporter. So since then, I've been going through life as a recovering journalist. Okay, so I want the emotional feedback to whatever extent you can, and I did. There's a point about journalism in a few minutes. I've managed well over 1,000 proposals. I've generated about $500 million total. I've generated more than 30 million in SBIR, STTR arenas. At one time, for the first two companies I worked for, my success rate was well over 10 times the national average. Okay? I'm going to give you the punchline later. Okay? Okay. Ryan already gave you a little bit of this overview, but I'll skim through this fairly quickly. It's a congressionally mandated program. Okay. The premise is small businesses are a great source of innovation. And STTR's, the premise is that universities can also be a source of innovation, but they need small businesses as a commercialization conduit. The SBA, the Small Business Agency, sets the general rules. There are 11 SBIR agencies. 5 of these also have STTR programs. Each agency manages its own programs. Probably the most important point is that it's a congressionally mandated program, meaning every time it's reauthorized, Congress sets new rules, new metrics, new expectations. So it's a dynamic environment, as Ryan alluded to just now. Okay? The agencies are looking at different ways of achieving their goals as well as the congressionally mandated goals of the program. The STTR requires collaboration with a research institute, college, university, federal R&D laboratory. Okay? The principal investigator, primary employment for an SBIR, they must be employed by the small business. For the STTR, they can be employed by the research institute. Okay? I worked at Wright State. I worked with James Gates right there. We had a professor who was the PI on an effort. In the SBIR, the percentage of research is minimum on a phase 1, it's minimum 2/3 by the small business. Phase 2, minimum of half the money is spent by the small business. Okay, STTR, there's a lot more flexibility. Okay, 40% in the phase 1 and 2, the minimum is 40% goes to the small business, and a minimum of 30% to the research institute. Consequently, you can have a funding split of 70-30 or 40-60. These are just examples of some of the budgets of SBIR agencies. DoD is the largest. The second largest is NIH. However, I would consider that you look at other agencies. NSF, for example, NASA, Department of Energy. I've submitted and won into all those except for EPA, I guess, even Department of Agriculture. I submitted and won in all those agencies. I haven't won in NIH, although I submitted, and I haven't submitted to Department of Commerce or Department of Transportation. However, if you want to grow your technology, I would highly recommend you consider other sources of funding, especially NSF, especially if you want to initially prove the technology. Introduction to proposal writing. These are the fundamental rules of proposal writing. Number one, proposals are professional sales documents. Okay? Sometimes when I say that, engineers recoil in horror because of that word, sales. Okay? I've taught proposal writing to undergraduate engineers, and they ask questions such as, is it unethical to sell? I said, no. As long as you don't lie, make things up, it's perfectly appropriate to say your technology can do A, B, and C, or is expected to do A, B, and C. Okay? Engineers don't like to sell, but when you write a proposal, you have to sell. You have to sell your technology, you have to sell your team, you have to sell your commercialization plan. The document has to look good as well. Okay? The reviewer, it's in the back of their recesses of their mind is going to say, do I want to give money to this company? Because at some point, I might need them to help me look good. In other words, I might need them to give me data or a report or something, a figure, table, whatever, to make me look good. Okay? You want to communicate that agenda of that individual. Okay? The document has to look good. Proposals are written in journalistic style, not academic style. A lot of people have questions about that. I'll explain that in just a moment. They're evaluated. They aren't necessarily read. I'll explain that in detail later. They're eliminated before they are evaluated. In other words, if the requirement is 12-point font, okay, you cannot submit a proposal with 10-point font. If the margins are 1 inch, you cannot submit a proposal with half-inch margins. Okay? They will discard it. If the agency's belief is if you can't follow our rules when you're asking for our money, you probably aren't going to follow our rules when we give you your money. And also, it lowers their proposal evaluation costs considerably. They don't have to read a non-compliant proposal, so they're not going to read a non-compliant proposal. One of my worst days when we submitted 3 NSF proposals, and their website kept crashing, and I submitted everything except for a required sentence. And they called me 2 days later and said, where's that required sentence? Because we had won a phase 2. I said, I couldn't submit it because your website kept crashing. They said, tough luck. We're not going to review your proposal. Which also speaks to the point, don't procrastinate. Okay, websites do crash. Proposal writing is a competition, not a lottery. Okay, here's the punchline. For my earlier statement, my success, I used to win about 40% of my phase 1s and more than 90% of my phase 2s on my first about 25 proposals for my first 2 companies. When I worked for a third company, they had a completely different attitude. They treated proposal writing like a lottery. So I would stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning, submitting 22 proposals. 6 of them were to a topic, and the other 16 were just rehashed and so on. Okay? My boss, the entrepreneur, thought, oh, this is a lot of fun. At 2 o'clock, I thought differently. Okay? It's not a lottery. It's a competition. Don't bother submitting proposals that you don't think you're going to win. Life is too short. Just don't. All right? I don't see any value in it. You might live your life differently, but don't waste your time. Okay. Now, my point about journalistic writing style versus academic writing style. Okay? This is an example of academic writing style. Okay? Pretend you're a reviewer and you're trying to determine if Dr. Raymer is qualified to be an NSF program manager. Okay? I'll spend a minute or two slogging through that. And I'm going to talk because evaluators don't always get completely unobstructed time to review proposals. So the ... means there's more information that I can put in there. Are you ready? Are you ready for the refreshing sight of journalistic style writing? Read. You're the same reviewer, okay? How quickly does it take you to determine whether Dr. Raymer is qualified? You're nodding your heads, okay? Remember, I'm a good covering journalist. Share with me the emotional reaction you have to reading this. What was that? Right, you do have an emotional reaction, right? Others do too, you just don't want to share it. I know, I can tell. I'm reading your body English, right? You have an emotional reaction, as well as an intellectual reaction, that Dr. Raymer is qualified, and the proposal writer gave me the information I needed to make that decision. That information is in the is in the academic writing style, okay? The difference between academic writing style and journalistic writing style is this. Academic is fact, 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 conclusion at the very bottom. Journalistic writing style is inverted. The conclusion, the most compelling sentence summary describing what you're going to read first. And when you write in the journalistic arena, that's called the lead. It's designed to drag, draw, entice the reader to read the rest of the story. So every section, every paragraph, if you can, should be written in the journalistic writing style. The most important information first. This is applied not just to resumes, but to tasks. Okay? Your task can be filled with lots of technical details. Okay? And describing how samples were prepared and so on and so forth. Okay? This is an example of academic writing style for a task. This is the journalistic writing style. We're going to do this task for this reason. Then you describe the facts. Okay? We're going to do this, followed by this. Okay? What I intend to do, especially in the technical sections, is combine the journalistic academic style. You want to have technical meat in your technical sections, but still you want to have written in, you want to write it in the journalistic style. The most important information first. A very quick summary. If someone is really into the technical details, they'll continue reading. If not, they still understand what you're doing. Okay. This is Proposal Writing 101. All right. When I was younger, even more stupid, I would get an 80-page or 100-page solicitation, and I'd spend the whole night reading it, and so on. Okay. When you get a solicitation, SBIRs or other, you want to identify 3 components. The proposal requirements, how the agency wants you to format the proposal, the statement of work, what the funding agency wants you to do, and the evaluation criteria. How the reviewers grade your proposal. Those are the 3 most important sections. Okay? Not all agencies, not all solicitations call these things. Statement of work, evaluation criteria, and so on. For example, for the SBIRs, SBIR arena, they call the statement of work is the topic, right? Okay. But you want to find those 3 sections. You eventually want to read the entire solicitation, okay, because there could be a lot of other requirements. But in order to start, these are the 3 sections that define your proposal the most. Whether it's 20 pages, 5 pages, so on and so forth. Okay, winning strategies for proposal writing. This is the most important slide of my presentation. Begin with the end in mind, which is a Steve Covey habit. Are you familiar with the 7 habits? Begin with the end in mind. And your end is you're going to write so that anyone can evaluate your proposal favorably against all evaluation criteria as quickly as possible, or with the least amount of mental energy. Similar to the journalistic style, when you had an emotional reaction and an intellectual reaction, even whether you want to admit it or not. Okay. Now, let's define anyone. Most people assume that they're writing for a well-rested expert with unlimited time. They assume that someone is going to show up at work at 9 o'clock in the morning with a fresh cup of coffee and have nothing to do for the rest of the day except for embrace and immerse themselves in your proposal. Okay. Don't think that. Okay? It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Right? Maybe in a perfect world, but it just does not happen. Generally, you'll have sleep-deprived, overworked expert. You'll have a well-rested expert with unlimited time, and you also have sleep-deprived non-experts. Assume that your proposal is going to be evaluated by someone other than number 1. Okay? They're not going to be well-rested. Okay. When I started in the SBIR arena, the topic author gave me some advice, and it stuck with me. He said, John, I don't read these first thing in the morning when I come to work with a fresh cup of coffee. Okay? I come to work, I do my job, I go home, I eat dinner, I help my kids with my homework. After I put them to bed, I turn on Monday Night Football, and I sit on the couch and I read proposals, SBIR proposals, that he was the topic author for. So my SBIR proposal writing experience was focused on that mental image, that the reviewer is going to be watching Monday Night Football while reading my proposal. And consequently, I was very successful until I stayed up till 2 in the morning submitting proposals. All right? So have that vision in your mind. Okay? That they're going to be looking at your proposal while watching Monday Night Football. There's going to be lots of beer ads, there's going to be lots of truck ads, and all sorts of excitement that you are competing with when they're reviewing your proposal. That was a Navy reviewer, okay? I don't want to disparage an Air Force or their review process. That was a Navy reviewer. Okay, winning proposals are not selected. They are the last one remaining after others have been dismissed for not addressing all criteria. Does that make sense? Okay? SBIRs are pretty simple. There's 3 evaluation criteria. Lots of proposals or solicitations have a lot of other evaluation criteria. Quite often, you will have one evaluator focusing on one criteria. Okay? And in the dynamics of the review process, if you don't address all the evaluation criteria, you're giving someone, whether it's they're focused on that criteria or not, a reason to push you aside from the competitive range. Okay. Many engineers that I work with believe they're going to love my technology. I don't need to care, I don't need to worry about the other parts. Commercialization, who cares? Okay? Experience, I've got it, but I'm not going to describe it. Okay? You have to address all evaluation criteria. I'm not saying I have a 100% accurate view of the review process, but the dynamics are they get tossed aside, non-competitive, because at least one criteria is not selected. You want to be the one, your proposal wants to be the one that's always in the competitive range because it addresses all the criteria. Right, so your proposal can be favorably evaluated as quickly as possible. I think I went over this point. Reviewers are tired and distracted. If you don't communicate win themes early, the journalistic style, you'll lose their mental interest, their mental focus early. Okay. Another winning strategy, know your customer and their pain points. Okay. The topic addresses some sort of pain point. All solicitations address a pain point. Okay? There's quite often more to the story than what's in the topic. I have submitted, or I've talked to topic authors about topics, and I ask them questions, and they say, I have no idea what you're talking about. And it turns out, topic was written maybe 6 to 9 months before the solicitation. Okay? It has to be competed internally within the organization. They might be only able to issue 3 topics for their group. Well, this topic, where they decided they only could submit, issue 3 topics. So they combined 2 topics and made it 1. It made no sense, at least to the topic author. Okay? Because I talked to them, I was able to understand or decipher what was in the topic. The other point is about knowing their pain points is you're given, and you currently enjoy it now, a time when you can talk to topic authors. Talk to them when you can. Their world may have changed, or their priorities may have changed since the topic was originally written. Okay. So then talk to the TPOC, the technical point of contact, and others in the agency, especially before the solicitation comes out. Right now, the solicitation is still not officially out. It's a pre-topic still. Talk to them now. Review website, news items, do keyword searches. I've also searched for the, under the topic author, see what they're interested in, what they like. How many of you are familiar with that young man? Oh, come on. This is supposed to be interactive. Folks, you're not being honest with me. And I'm really, folks, okay, the Christmas story has been playing nonstop, all right? 24 hours a day for the whole month of December. Okay, there's a reason for that, okay? TV broadcasters know that solicitations are often due in January. Okay, so they're providing you this wonderful, fascinating story, which is it's very heartwarming, but it's an allegorical film for SBIR proposal writers. Okay? Who wants to recap what Ralphie Parker is doing in the Christmas story? I don't want to be the only one talking. Right. With a
Compass in the stop.
compass with a compass and something that tells time. Right? Harvey Natcher. Remember? Okay. Why is Ralphie unsuccessful in his proposal pitches to Miss Shields, to Mrs. Parker, and to Santa? Ralphie focuses on what he wants. Okay? He has a future technology-based entrepreneur, right? That's part of the allegorical film. He is focused on the technology that he wants. He's not focused on what Ms. Shields, what Mrs. Parker or Santa want. Okay? The sub-theme in the story is 9-year-olds do stupid things. That's why they have their tongue stuck to a metal pole. Okay? Ralphie also blurts out the fire truck word, but it's not actually fire truck. Okay? 9-year-olds do stupid things. Okay? So if you're a better entrepreneur and understood his operating environment, he would know that Mrs. Parker, Ms. Shields, and Santa want 9-year-olds that behave better. Okay? If you were to position his ask, his proposal, to something different, I want an official red wire carbine action 200-shot range model air rifle with compass in the stock and this thing that tells time. Okay? If you were to say something different, such as the principal investigator will determine to what extent receiving air rifle improves safe behavior, self-control, and concentration in a 9-year-old boy. Okay? Those are all pain points for the proposal evaluators, are they not? Right? And then his equipment list. What's the first thing he mentions? Safety glasses. You understand? If Ralphie would have turned his proposal into focusing on the customer and their pain points, he would be more successful. Okay, so you shape your message to respond to all evaluation criteria. Don't clutter. This is another win theme. Proposal, the key strategy. Don't vomit your technology all over the page. All right? That's a little bit what Ralphie did. He just blurted out what he wanted, all the technical specs, as opposed to focusing on the customer and what they wanted. Engineers do this all the time. They provide lots of technical details that are important to them, but not important to the customer. I get it, when I review proposals, I get it all the time. Why are you telling me this? What relevance does it have? It's something that they were proud of. Are you familiar with TRL's, technology readiness levels? Okay. It's a continuum to measure your the technology readiness level from laboratory, from just preliminary idea to ready to be deployed. Okay, you want to make sure that what you're proposing matches what the agency wants. This is true. For example, NSF typically funds basic research. Okay, the DoD funds a wide range of technology readiness levels. For example, more explicitly, DARPA is focused on really immature technologies. Special Operations Command is interested in field deployable technologies. Air Force, it can range. Each topic, it can range. You want to understand that. Does that make sense? So, if you have technology that's still immature, the NSF or DARPA would be a better funding source than Special Operations Command. Your innovation must match the agency's expectation. Okay. SBIR, the I is for innovation. Make sure you explicitly describe your innovation. Okay. The NSF and the NIH expect a thorough literature review. They're much more academic. The DoD is less academic. They're more interested in the state of the art. Okay. Do not procrastinate. I've worked in an entrepreneurial environment for around 20 years or so, and I have a secret. Entrepreneurs like chaos. Okay? And you can get chaos by procrastinating. I had one that One boss had a 160-person IT company. He still procrastinated on proposals. He ritualized procrastination. Proposals were written with hot coffee and dark chocolate. Okay, don't procrastinate. Engineer people I work with say it'll take less time if I wait till the last minute. Okay, that's not a winning strategy. So don't procrastinate. Okay, these are winning strategies I'm going to explain later. Identify your key themes, your win themes before writing. When writing, say them early and say them often. You want to quantify your benefits and your key themes and support your claims later in the proposal. Does that make sense? Okay. I'll explain a little bit later. Okay, proposal writing process. Start by addressing all the evaluation criteria. All right? Let's give you a visual example. Okay? You have the statement of work is to build a 2,000 square foot house with 4 beds and 2 baths. The house must meet building codes and include a 1-page abstract. Will you start building? Okay, that's the statement of work. Now, a lot of proposal contributors will start writing. They say, "Oh man, I can build a bedroom. Sure, I love building bedrooms. I'll build you lots of bedrooms. Okay, I'll build baths. They'll give me all sorts of proposal content. Okay, and it's not helpful because it doesn't address the evaluation criteria. Does that make sense? So before you start building the house, you want to know, how is this house going to be evaluated? Let's suppose one funding agency, the criteria is low cost, use and creative display of native building materials, access to surrounding environment. That's going to shape your floor plan in your house. Okay? A different agency will have different requirements. That's going to shape your floor plan, how you build a house, so on and so forth. So don't start building until you understand the evaluation criteria. You all know the DoD SBIR evaluation criteria. This is the NSF evaluation criteria. They have 2 criteria and numerous sub-criteria. Okay. I recommend that you address all of those sub-criteria. Every single one of them. With a win theme. With a 1 sentence, maybe 2 sentence, which says why the evaluator should pick your proposal. You'll have no idea which evaluator will care most about which criteria. It's a trick issue, right? So don't be excluded, okay, by not addressing any of those sub-criteria. Okay. So this is what I do, or what I did do in writing SBIRs, and I still do. Okay? You meet together, all right? You look at the topic. You look at how you can address all the criteria. You create a draft abstract. Some people say write the abstract last. No, don't do that. Write a draft abstract first, because that's the thing that the agency is going to read first. You want to sell them all your win themes early and often. So you put all of them in the abstract. You might not know everything in that will be contained in the abstract. For example, if I know that the agency wants a lower cost coating, or a coating that withstands salt spray or whatever for a longer period of time, I'm going to put that sentence in the abstract, but I might not know the details. For example, also, our coating is expected to last to be determined % longer than current state of the art. That communicates to me and the proposal team, we got to figure that out, because that's important for the customer. Okay. I have a team independently address as many of the evaluation criteria as possible with 1 to 2 sentence win themes. How many of you write the proposal all by yourself? Good. Okay, so you work on teams, right? This is especially effective when you work on teams with different technical talents. Okay? If the evaluation criteria is innovation, a biologist will describe innovation differently than a computer scientist from a mechanical engineer. So you want to capture that. Okay? You want to get that input from everyone. Why is our technology innovative? Okay, make sure you address all the criteria, identify the strongest responses, these are your win themes, and identify different ways to communicate these messages visually via figures, tables, graphs, text boxes, analogies. For example, this is this is a simple table where I have the evaluation criteria on the left. These are DoD evaluation criteria. At the bottom is any other requirements you identified. For example, when talking to the topic author, for example, they might prefer a domestically sourced technology, right? Because that could be a pain point. So I write the team's response on the right-hand side, all the responses to the evaluation criteria. So you might have 5 different responses to each of those evaluation criteria. And then you're going to choose the strongest. Those are your win themes. Does this make sense? Okay. Now, decision time. Can you score highly on all criteria? If not, you have a plan and enough time to correct your weaknesses. You might need a team member. Getting a team member, even at SBIRs, takes time. Okay? And after answering this, make a bid, no bid decision. Okay. Your win themes, you say them early and you say them often. Okay? I say this often in this class because I say it often in proposal writing process. Identify your win themes, you say them early and you say them often. All right? So, for example, if you have a really strong technical team, you don't want to make the reviewers go to page, whatever, 17 to find out you have 4 PhDs with combined 80 years of experience in the relevant areas of blah, 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 blah. You want the reviewers to know that early. Okay? You don't want them to get to page 20 to find out that you have a really strong letter of support from the prime contractor, Boeing or Lockheed Martin Aerospace. You want to identify that and say it early. In the abstract, you would say, our team is led by 4 PhDs with combined 8 years of technical experience, and we have strong support from Lockheed Martin Aerospace. Okay? That would be in your abstract. I mentioned this before. If you say that you expect your technology to be a certain percentage faster, lighter, cheaper, so on, you would say that in the abstract. Support that claim later in the proposal. Does that make sense? All right. Don't repeat your win themes, your key themes verbatim. This is a subtle point, but so for the first sentence, you would say the technical team includes 4 PhDs with 500 years of experience. Okay? The second time you say that, you don't use the exact same words. You convey the same message with different words, such as the project will be led by 4 PhDs with 100 years of relevant expertise and so on and so forth. Does that make sense? So you're communicating that theme without the reviewer saying, wait, I just read that sentence, didn't I? Or did I use my place while watching Monday Night Football? Okay? Quantify your benefits. Our past performance includes success rate $38 million in related work over the past 5 years. I quantified it with $38 million, 5 years. Okay. Our approach is expected to save the Air Force $3 million in initial costs and $27 million in maintenance costs over a 20-year period. Those are all quantified. I would support them later in the proposal. Explain how I project to get that savings. You're not promising, you're projecting that your technology will give those benefits. Okay, so we've identified, gone through the process of identifying your win themes, right? Now, the next part is, how do you communicate these win themes? Here's the comprehensive list. The abstract and an executive summary. Okay. The SBIRs require an abstract. Even if your solicitation does not require an abstract or executive summary, put it in there. Include some sort of summary that has a compressed version of your most compelling win themes. Okay. It enables someone who is sleep deprived and watching Monday Night Football to make some sort of assessment of your proposal. There's two, in the proposal review process, there's 2 phases where this is important. Say them, choose your win theme, say them early, say them often. Okay. First is when they're watching Monday Night Football. Okay. To what extent, they were asking, to what extent is this proposal responsive to my needs? Okay? You want your proposal to be put in the competitive range. The second part of the proposal evaluation process is when the evaluators meet and discuss all the proposals in the competitive range. Okay? You want the evaluators to be able to quickly find the reasons why they should pick your proposal versus any others in the competitive range. So if you put your win themes, you say them early, you say them often, they're easier to find. Does that make sense? Their brains are mush by the time they get to that meeting. They can't remember who had the team with the 4 PhDs and so on and so forth. They won't remember that. You're helping them pick your proposal. All right, so these are the different areas where you want to put win themes. Your abstract, executive summary, a features benefits table. Is anyone familiar with that terminology? Not only am I sharing with you insight into Ralphie, this is a whole new dimension for your lives. Features benefits tables. Okay. Photos, tables, graphics with action captions. Okay. The key word there is action. The key words there are action captions. A tombstone, also known as text box, and analogies. These are all techniques for communicating win themes. Okay, so here's an example of a draft abstract written first. Okay, our team will demonstrate a process to produce nano-enhanced thin films up to be determined millimeters. I'm not sure how many, which can be used as a protective coating on aircraft composite structures. The films will cost something less than the base composite and will last something longer than when subjected to be determined test. Okay. The result will be an increase in surface life of up to 2 BD. Okay. Let me skip down to. We will transition this technology to the F-35 weapon systems by working with the existing DoD supply chain, Lockheed Martin, ABC firm, and XYZ firm, all of whom are on our proposal team. We will transition this technology to other weapon systems by blah, 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 blah. Our team includes 4 PhDs with 80 years of experience. Those are win themes in response to all the evaluation criteria in draft form in the abstract. And I'm going to force my technical team to tell me how, to fill in the blanks on the TBDs, on the to be determined. Because we, early in the process, on the proposal team, decided that's what's important to the customer. Okay? They don't care about recyclability or chemical formulations. That's what the customer is concerned about. So that's in the abstract. Does this make sense? It also gets the proposal team on the same page. Oh, this is what we're doing. We're nano-enhanced thin films. Okay. Do you see the value of this? I want some feedback. I'm still recovering. Okay, feedback, please. Okay. Features benefits table highlights your strongest win themes that mirror the agency's evaluation criteria. You inserted early in the proposal. You have a question?
Yeah, from that abstract, what role can DoD contractors, large DoD contractors like Lockheed Martin, play in civic proposals? Because here you're saying they were part of the team.
Yeah. Okay, so the question is, what role can large contractors play in this? Okay, very good question. Many of the primes, such as Lockheed Martin, will identify the topics that they are interested in, and they will publish. They will publish this list, and they will give it to you. And they'll say, "Oh, I'm interested in this topic," and they'll say, "Oh, okay, contact this person." The way to get that list is, I would start with the Lockheed Martin Small Business Office. Okay, so I did this all the time. I worked with the Lockheed Martin that supported the Missile Defense Agency, and they would tell me all the topics that they were interested in, and the technical point of contact. And the win-win is this. I was going to discuss a strategy later, but I'll discuss it. Okay, the win-win is this. Okay, you go to Lockheed Martin and say, "Here's the topic. To what extent does this topic overlap your technical needs? Tell me that, and I might be able to use some of my $1 million, phase 2 plus phase 1, to focus on your needs, as long as it's consistent with the agencies." So Lockheed Martin might say, "Well, we're interested in nano-enhanced thin film coatings in support of this weapon system, and this weapon system." You would use that in your proposal. I've included Lockheed Martin as unpaid technical consultants. I've also said, I'll give you $5,000 and a phase 1, and all you have to do is I want to be able to talk to you during phase 1, and you give me technical guidance. Okay. UDRI, I want to make a pitch. UDRI is also interested in that same scenario. Okay. We support customers. They expect us to have our eye out on innovative technologies. We go to technical conferences to do that. Okay. We can work with you on your teams and help transition your technologies to our customers with SBIR money. That's a win-win for the small business, for us, for the DoD customer, and the SBIR office, SBIR program. Does that make sense? Does everyone understand that? Okay. In fact, this is something I'll be sending you. I'll talk about this later. These are some of the technologies we're interested in. It's a preliminary list. Like I said, the primes do that. They'll identify, if you want to mirror the topic with their needs, to whatever extent there's overlap. Features, benefits. Okay. This is an example of a features benefits table. Remember when we had the evaluation criteria and then our response? Okay, this is basically a flipped version of that table. Okay, this on the left is features of our technology or approach. Our technology will save money, okay, or lower maintenance costs, or do something, or the benefits for the Navy. The benefits align with the agency's evaluation criteria, and their pain points. Does that make sense? So, one feature is we have, our team includes 4 PhDs with combined 80 years of expertise. Okay, the benefit for the agency is we have requisite technical and commercialization expertise required to ensure successful deployment of this technology throughout the DoD supply chain, which is evaluation criteria number 3 in the DoD. That make sense? So that's a features and benefits table. I usually put it, there's an abstract, there's a about a one-page summary, and then at the very end of the one-page introduction, I include a features benefits table. And that's really helpful when they're watching Monday Night Football or when they go into the review committee meeting. And they want to figure out, why should I select your proposal to fund? You have a table that has all your win themes and the corresponding benefits for the agency. Okay, so this is a features benefits table for the Department of Energy. They're interested in technologies that produce energy savings for high energy using industries. They identify the industries, and so those are the benefits. Different ways of saving energy for specific end users.
Question.
Yeah.
Would it be beneficial, or do you ever do a cross matrix of this to the evaluation criteria to show that you hit all of it? And you might just maybe have the third column that shows you hit every evaluation criteria?
No, because of space. Okay, there's something called the compliance matrix. Are you familiar with that? Okay, the compliance matrix is different than a features benefits table. A compliance matrix is the solicitation will have shall statements. The contractor shall have a data management plan. This isn't in the SBIR. The contractor shall have a plan for 24/7 uninterrupted power supply or whatever. Okay, lots of shall statements. And the compliance matrix is, this is what you asked for, and we address this issue on this page. Okay. The features benefits table is, I don't find it necessary to highlight the specific evaluation criteria because it's subsumed within on the right. I sort of mix evaluation criteria and pain points. Okay. Graphics and action captures. Graphics have more impact than words. Okay. When you read the newspaper, or you get the newspaper, you flip through it and you look at the pictures, not the ads, but the pictures, and you read the action, see what's happening. Humans gather more information visually than by reading. They could process it faster visually. So you want to use visuals with action captions to underscore or highlight your win themes. An action captions is a sentence supporting a win theme. Okay. The graphics could include pictures, graphs, charts, tables, and tombstones. Right, so let me give you an example. There's a bunch of words. Okay. Picture of a road sign. If this were in a technical journal, it would just be labeled photograph of a road sign. Okay. An engineer writing this, they'd say data from our tests, or photomicrograph of something. Right? That doesn't help. It's just, but that's what the technical journals do. All right. A better example of an action capture: our material can be used to code road signs. All right. It's not quantified. Right. The best is our nano-enhanced coating can extend the service life of road signs 600%, saving the state an estimated $6 million per year in labor and material costs. that's a much more effective action capture. Okay? When they're watching Monday Night Football or going to the review committee, that message is going to be conveyed to them pretty darn quickly. Here's another example. This is a photomicrograph. Okay? Our carbon nanofibers have a hollow core which is expected to serve as a reservoir for lithium ions and produce a 400% increase in electrical capacity. That's a much more effective action capture than photomicrograph of carbon nanofibers. Right? I'm losing some of you. I'm going to have to talk about some other Christmas movies. Okay, this is a table with an action capture. Okay, so if I were to make a claim that we would save money or produce quantifiable results, I would use a table to explain it, and then include our device can save $234 million in annual healthcare costs in the U.S., including $7.8 million in Ohio alone. Quantifiable, and I have a table. It includes all my assumptions of data justifying that. Does that make sense? The important point is the action caption. And that action caption in a different version would be in the abstract. These are tombstones. They're basically text boxes that you wrap text around in the proposal. So, if you had a very strong letter from Lockheed Martin or some other prime or team member, or even someone within the DoD, and they say great things about your technology, you would not put that. You would not force the reviewer to go to page 20. You would put that in a tombstone and put it somewhere in the proposal. The Lockheed Martins of the world, they have one of these visual elements in every single page. Okay. I've seen lots of proposals where the page is nothing but text. Okay. They're going to be watching Monday Night Football rather than going through that. And they'll fall asleep. They won't have. They'll have amnesia when they go to the review committee, unless you have these elements. Analogies create a visual image with words. Okay. Detangling nestled bundles of carbon nanofibers dispersed throughout thermoplastic powders is challenging. It's analogous to tearing apart dust bunnies mixed with golf balls. You've all experienced dust bunnies, right? Okay. You have a mental image. Dust bunnies, golf balls, right? That's a difficult technical challenge. We're justifying $100,000. Okay. The powders are about the diameter of a human hair. Carbon nanofibers are 1,000 times smaller. Okay. The innovation of this cochlear device is analogous to that of LASIK surgery. Each allows for customized outpatient correction of hearing or vision and eliminates the need for external hardware, hearing aids or glasses. So that's a visual, that's something that sticks with you, okay, because you have a mental image. Cochlear implant is LASIK. Everyone knows what LASIK is. After identifying key themes, create a proposal template. Okay, so this is the proposal writing process. Create a template responsive to the proposal requirements, font, headings, etc. Populate it with the formatting techniques to highlight key themes early and often. And it's open. Everyone does this. They insert boilerplate language from some other proposal. Okay, so they help description of the company, description of the technology, description of the team members. Okay, everyone does this, right? Especially if it's 2 a.m. I do it all the time. Just put it in there, but identify it with a different font color, which means says I have content, but I have to review it and make sure it's responsive to this, it fits with this proposal. Hand out writing assignments with page restrictions. That's the proposal process. Okay. So that's proposal writing 101. How to write an effective, this is the next thing, how to write an effective SBIR, SDGR proposal. Okay. Before the solicitation comes out, which is where we are now, right? The solicitation hasn't officially come out. Network and gather intelligence. Talk with individuals at different agencies. Oh, this is even before the draft topics come out. You go to technical conferences, right? Yes? Okay. Talk to them about their technical pain points. What do you do? And you find out what they're into, the agency is interested in. What are their pain points? What are the metrics that they're judged on? Talk with individuals, that's about their pain points. You could offer to draft a topic for that. I've done it, it's acceptable. If they say I have a problem with this technical pain point, you say, okay, here's a topic, focused on that. They would have to vet that and so on and so forth within their agency, but it's perfectly acceptable to draft a topic. Find other entities in and out of DoD that have similar technology needs, pain points, because you're supposed to commercialize the technology, so you want lots of different customers. And make sure you register on the targeted agencies' SBIR websites. Sometimes it takes a while to get approval. Don't do that 2 a.m. the day it's due. Okay. So most of you know this, right? Nod. I'm not asking for lunch. Nod or this. Okay. Identify candidate topics. Use a keyword search. Talk with a topic author. How many of you have talked to a topic author for a targeted topic in this solicitation? 1, 2. Don't be shy. James? 3. Okay. You want to do that, and you want to do it as early as possible.
So I've noticed most of the SBIRs have that has the POC and then has usually a phone number and email. Do you recommend calling?
I'll get into that, but I recommend sending them an email and ask for time to when best can I talk to you? When are you available? Okay, I'll show you exactly how to do that. Okay, DoD topics come from 2 sources. This is traditional topics. Ryan shared with you a whole other arena. Okay, but this is based on traditional topics. There's there's market pull and technology push. Okay? Some topics are a problem with a specific weapon system looking for a solution. And you need to develop a solution that meets the form, fit, function requirements of that weapon system. Okay? There's also topics that are technology push, a solution looking for a problem. Meaning, some researcher is interested in a new technology in its potential applications in this arena, but he or she hasn't mapped out where it fits within the DoD. So it's your job to find the DoD end users. Okay? I've submitted to both. But you, as the proposal writer, want to identify what kind of topic you have. Your strategy is going to be different. Okay. Some people talk about topics being wired. You ever heard that term? Okay. I don't think it's an accurate term. Wired means it's written by one small business, and it can only be supplied by a specific small business. In my experience, it's not the way it works. The topics can be constrained, meaning they're only they're only looking for a metal solution for the problem as opposed to ceramic, or vice versa. They're only looking for a solution that from this type of solution as opposed to another type of solution. This is a example of a wide open. Okay, this is a wide open topic. The references are all extremely generic. Okay, so it's not constrained. I would consider this wide open topic, and I use that terminology with the topic author. To what extent is this topic constrained for a specific solution? To what extent is this wide open? And they'll say it's wide open. I don't care what technology you use. I just want to solve my problem. This is a potential constraint. All right. Multiple references from specific authors indicate potential solutions could be constrained to a specific approach. So I haven't researched this, but it appears that they're interested in a specific technology and what it can do. You'll want to research that. Okay? It doesn't mean it's wired, it might be constrained. Okay, this is how to communicate with a topic author. Summarize your strategy in a few sentences. You're going to email this appetizer to pique their interest. You don't want to get bogged down in too much detail. Okay? You want a wide open conversation. In the email, so you send the email and say, when are you available to talk? Hopefully they'll email it back. So here's an example of a appetizer. Our proposed approach entails functionalized carbon nanofibers and thermoplastic to blah, 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 blah. We want to ensure our approach is responsive to the topic the agencies need. When is a good time to call you to discuss? 3 sentences. Right? Not a lot of technical detail. You want to focus on the customer and their pain points as opposed to your how you functionalize carbon nanofibers. When you talk to the topic author, listen more than you talk. Okay, this is Steve Covey. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Don't be Ralphie and say, I've got a carving action, 500 shot, blah, 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 blah. All right? You want to listen. You want to understand, you want a very accurate picture of the technology, where the pain points, and the metrics, and why this is a pain point, and so on and so forth. Precise understanding of complex issues, for example, performance, mechanical properties, cost. How many mechanical engineers here? All right, I'm going to call. How many ways can you measure mechanical properties?
Well, I've done mechanical engineering for about 15 years, so I don't know.
Simple answer: lots.
Plenty.
Okay, there's lots. Okay, so if the customer wants improved mechanical properties, you want to find out what properties do you want to improve. You want to prioritize them for you, or you prioritize them. Ask for their feedback. Is it tensile? Is it compression? Is it torsional strength? Is it ballistic impact? Cost is a complex issue too, right? Is it initial cost, life cycle cost, maintenance cost, inspection cost? You want to understand that complex issue. You know, just think of a automobile engine. How do you measure performance? lots of different ways. And when you talk to them, you're going to ask open-ended versus yes/no questions. This is the next slide. These are all open-ended questions. To what extent is my proposed effort responsive to your topic? Versus, is my approach responsive to your topic? If they just say yes or no, it's not nearly as valuable as to what extent. They'll say, if you ask to what extent, they'll say, I like this, this, and this, but it doesn't meet my needs for A, B, and C. Okay. To what extent is the agency willing to fund creative solutions to this challenge, or what types of solutions approaches would the agency consider responsive or non-responsive? Okay. Bracket the agency's expectations. For phase one, what would you consider a home run? What would you consider a single, meaning minimally acceptable? I've used those exact words. People understand that. What's a huge success? Okay. Prioritize requirements. Are there must-have requirements? For example, the improved mechanical strength. I would want to know which mechanical strength parameters are most important, and I would want to prioritize them. Cost, performance, whatever vague metric you want to use, I would want a detailed understanding of that. Are there any must-have requirements? Are there any that can be moved to phase two? Okay. Here's more. What's the DO currently used to solve this problem? Why is this solution adequate? Who is the DoD's current vendor for this solution/system? Who would be the end user of our technology? The prime contractor of the DoD, in-field repair technicians, supply depots. Remember, the Department of Defense buys systems. They don't buy, they told me, we don't buy materials, we don't buy walls, we buy ships. So you have to figure out how you're going to get your technology to the shipbuilder. You have to figure out that and work that supply chain. It's not the DoD's job or responsibility. They may try to help you, but you need to do that. Given that end user, can you recommend specific people, entities for us to work with to successfully transition this technology to the DoD? This is the other way you can find the Lockheed Martin contact. Understand? They'll tell you the supply chain. They'll tell you the person. And you're going to go to that person and say, tell me your problems, and I'll work to, I'll write really effective proposals to get you up to $1 million to help solve your problems. Other than the references cited, what other related activities should we be aware of? Okay, topic authors and agencies operate in a dynamic environment. The topic addresses something that happened 9 months ago. Someone may have issued, a general or a colonel, or someone in the hierarchy may have issued a new policy paper or a directive or whatever. You want to know about that. Okay? You want to cite that and use that terminology. How many phase ones award do you anticipate awarding on this? This is sometimes a good barometer of the agency's interest in the topic. Okay. This is a question for National Science Foundation or other granting agency. Again, you want to contact the topic author early. You want to find out whether your approach fits within the topic or whether it's more appropriate for another topic. Okay? The NSF doesn't own a problem like the DoD does. They don't have a pain point. They have a technology space. And you want to make sure your technology fits within that space of that topic. So you ask, to what extent is my approach responsive to this topic? What should I emphasize? What would make my approach non-responsive? Meaning, what would keep my solution outside of this space? Okay, Okay, when the DSP solicitation opens, which is very soon, next week, you want to monitor the question and answers for public discussion of the topics. Okay? Are you familiar with that process? Once the solicitation is open and official, you can't have one-on-one conversations with the topic author. All questions have to go through this question and answer website. Usually they're answered. You want to monitor that. Make sure you register. More tips. When writing the proposal, identify team members, consultants, commercialization path, sources of support letters early. The reason is these are all long lead time items. For example, getting a subcontractor on your team, getting their cost proposal, getting commitment from Lockheed Martin to include them on your technical team. Make sure you clearly identify the problem, quantify the problem, describe how your technology is more innovative and better than current solutions. Quantify how much better your technology will be and on what basis you make these predictions. Okay. Quite often in phase one, you're going to say, we expect our technology to be 50% better or something. I would recommend you give a range for every metric you intend to meet. Okay? 50 to 100%. All right? It's easier to hit a range than a specific number. So you and the agency can consider your technology successful even if you hit the low end of the range. Does that make sense? And this is important. Don't ignore or let the engineer write the commercialization section. You don't need to insult. I mean, I want a warm, supporting environment, but engineers, I need to be honest with you, you're not often good at writing the commercialization section. Sometimes the less sophisticated ones will have a very less sophisticated view of commercialization. Man, it's $1 billion market. We just need to sell 1% of that. Man, we'll be millionaires. It doesn't work that way. Okay. How do you get letters of support? How many of you use letters of support in your SBIR and CTR proposals? James, no. Okay. They're highly effective. Highly effective. What you want to do, I answered this question earlier about how do you talk with Lockheed Martin. Many primes identify topics of interest and contacts, create the win-win. I can get around $1 million to solve your problem, but I need you to share your problems with me. Please provide details now or during phase one about your problem and the form, fit, function requirements of a potential solution. Does this make sense? Okay. So let's suppose you're developing a sensor to detect something. All right. Eventually, it has to meet the form, fit, function. It's got to be certain size, certain energy requirements, certain sensitivity for it to be used on a system. You want that prime to identify that with more and more detail. They give it all that information up to you up front. That'd be helpful. Doesn't always happen. But you want them on your team to help guide you for that. Okay. When you write the letter of support, or when you, in the process of getting to write the letter of support, you are going to draft it. You're going to say something like, you look at the website and say, Lockheed Martin Aerospace is a $6 billion a year company that actively develops blah, 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 blah. Okay? And Lockheed Martin says, we are interested in nano-enhanced thermoplastic coatings for these applications. This ABC firm has a very innovative approach to develop these coatings. We are happy to support them. We think it's the best technology since sliced bread, something like that. Okay, you want to draft a letter with glowing praise and let them scale it back. If they're not comfortable saying it's the best thing since sliced bread, then they'll scale it back. Right? These letters quite often take a long time, weeks. You may have to go through their legal and so on and so forth. But you draft them. Okay? You make it really easy for them to give it to someone to approve. Okay. How many of you use the budget narrative? How many of you know what a budget narrative is? All right. It's outside the page count. Okay, you hear that? Budget narratives are not part of the page count. Okay, it's an opportunity. You're not going to put 20 pages of technical stuff in the budget narrative, but it gives the reviewer insight into why you are asking for expense item, whether it's travel, specialty materials, consultation. All right. And it's a way to inform the reviewers in another section of the proposal that's outside the page count that the beauty of your solution. For example, we will travel to prime contractor site to gather detailed information on the technical requirements to ensure a rapid and efficient transition to our technology to XYZ program. That would be in the budget narrative explaining a $5,000 travel expense. Okay, does that make sense? We intend to use X materials, which are the least expensive option, but we included a certain amount of money in our materials budget to handle contingencies in case our approach is not compatible with a less expensive material. Okay? That gives the reviewer insight into, man, they really thought this stuff through. Okay? Dr. Doolittle, a retired Air Force colonel who previously served as blah, 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 will provide technical advice regarding this. Okay? That would be a statement associated with a consultant fee for Dr. Doolittle or whomever. All right. Ready for summary? Some of you are still waiting for another Christmas show analysis. Okay. Summary of the proposal process. Wait, any questions? Are there any other Christmas films that you don't think you fully understand? Good. All right. This is the proposal process. Talk to the customer before the RFP comes out. It's true of any proposal. Once the RFP is released, identify the statement of work, the proposal requirements, and evaluation criteria. Number 3, create a proposal template based on the proposal requirements. Number 4, brainstorm with your team members and create win themes responsive to all the evaluation criteria and the customer pain points. Okay? Remember, pain points are generally outside of the solicitation. Things that are important to the customer, which is why you need to talk to the customer. You draft the abstract highlighting the strongest key themes corresponding to the statement of work, the evaluation criteria, and the customer pain points. You're going to generate visual tools, figures, graphs, tombstones, etc., to communicate key themes. The process we do is, okay, you look at the win themes, and you say, how can we communicate that vision? What visual can we use? It might take a picture, it might require a graph, data graph, tables, so on. But you want to look at those win themes and say, how how can we make it easier for the customer the reviewer to visualize it? Populate the proposal template with the abstract and key themes. This becomes our first draft. Give writing assignments and deadlines, identify partners, draft and send out letters of support early. Really easy. All right. Easy. Okay, I have an SBIR proposal template. Let me see if I can. Anyone see Jim? What's happening? I can't find it. Yeah, the proposal template. Yeah, the word. Yeah, I can't find the group. Oh. All right, wait. Is it on? All right. Because Jim is such a great guy, he will send out a proposal, SBIR proposal template. Okay. This is has some advice. It has some formatting techniques and suggested page counts for the different sections. Okay. When I was in the active SBIR, I use this or something like it with my team.
Have you tried this special topics format with 5-page white paper?
No, I haven't. I'm outside the SBIR arena. I imagine you can use some of the same strategies. Okay, win themes, say them early, say them often. You're going to have fewer pages. You're going to, especially in a pitch deck, you want to, especially in that audience, you want to quantify things. My guess is not just technical performance, but technical performance versus others. The value proposition, and so on. Okay. All right. So here.
I'll still send it to everybody.
All right. So here, Jim, is there any way to make this? I still can't read that. Okay. This is an example DoD SBIR proposal template. This is based on 2017 or 2018 solicitation. So if the solicitation changes, this formatting might not be consistent. Okay, so you might need to update that. But I start off with the evaluation criteria. There's the evaluation criteria in red. What is our response? When I quite often do is send that, we meet, we discuss what we're going to do, I send that out to the team, and I ask them, what is our response to this? You can do it collectively as well, but consider forcing people to describe innovation or innovative approach from their unique perspectives. If you do it as a team, you might not get that from every biologist or data analytics person or whatever. You want at least one win theme for all those evaluation criteria. Okay, first draft, the abstract, and I have example of an abstract in there. Okay, your abstract is, you're going to present a storyline. The DoD has a problem. This doesn't, other solutions don't solve that problem. I have unique innovation. I've demonstrated A and B independently, but I've never combined A and B. A and B is technically challenging, like the removing dust bunnies from the golf balls, okay? For $100,000 or whatever, I intend to, then you describe your metrics. Okay. The next part of the storyline is we have a strong team, 4 PhDs with a combined 80 years of experience, and we have strong interest from the supply chain. That's a storyline. That would go in your abstract. I haven't, I'm not going to read the storyline, but it's in there. Okay, suggested page lengths. Okay. In the DoD SBIR, the identification and significance of the problem. Okay. A big mistake that lots of people make is they dump, that's where they vomit their technology all over the page. Right? I recommend identification and significance of the problem with 1 page as opposed to, I've seen 3 pages, I've seen 5 pages. Just lots of technology vomiting. Right? And I give other potential page counts. The statement of work, your technical meat, about 10 pages. Commercialization strategy for phase 1 just needs to be 1 page. You want to research the market because this is going to be used outside the DoD. So the DoD market will be specific weapon systems. Okay, you might want to identify weapon systems, the members of the supply chain. Okay, outside the DoD, you might want to quantify that market. Does that make sense? All right, so this is how I create a template. All right, red is the agency requirements for that section. I include that in. I keep it in there as long as possible because it makes the writers, your team editors, focus on what is supposed to be in that section. The blue is my advice, okay, or yeah, in this template, the blue is my advice. This is an example of a tombstone. Okay. Yellow is bright, visual. And also, if they ever have to produce a hard copy and Xerox it, it doesn't lose its visual integrity, meaning it doesn't, some shades of colors turn to illegible gray. Here's a features benefits table. Our phase 1 team. This is a summary. Again, resumes aren't until later in the proposal, but if you've got a really solid team, you would want to highlight their expertise very early. There's action captions, draft action captions. Phase 1 technical objectives include metrics. Another visual, photomicrograph, statement of work. The red is all instructions. Task 1. Oh, okay, here's a, when you write tasks, start each task with an action verb. Okay? You're going to prepare, produce, develop, test. Those are all visual action verbs. They usually ask for a work schedule. It doesn't have to be very sophisticated. I find something like that is